One, two, three, come on. On the count of three.
Kartika, can we have you up as well? So just a quick photo.
Okay, thank you.
Any particular seating?
No, not at all. Just wherever you like. I think there's mics for all of you guys.
Yeah, okay.
Can you?
Yes, thanks.
Let's just edit that out, whoever's filming. To kick things off, we'll have the author himself read out a passage in his own voice.
Outside the window, through which the comforting light of a new day gives Ferdinand the courage to face it, the village emerges from its own slumber. Unlike Ferdinand's fitful variety, this slumber is usually a deep, dreamless one. It awakes every morning, not unlike a fat, overweight giant coming out of an alcohol-induced coma. A thin ground fog dusts the earth, top lit by underpowered halogen street lamps, every third one lit, creating spooky spotlights of shifting shapes and shadows. Nothing seems to move at all. And then, through the changing light, as black gets its first tinge of blue, the sickly halogens go off. The village twitches then, the overweight giants, comatose neurons sparking to life. Ghostly shapes emerge from the giant's paws, and they shuffle with sleepy, sullen gaits to my little watering hole, Brazos Taverna it is called. Thank you, Tina. Sandwiched between Alfonso's Photoshop and Oscar's laundry. The 5:30 a.m. patrons rarely make conversation, and eavesdropper would hear incoherent murmurs as I lay out a row of glasses filled with coconut fenny. Fenny, where would Goa be without it? Where would I be without it? They come in every day, the toddy tappers, in their threadbare coats, with their cocks and balls and scrawny butts, all sacked up in brightly printed lungis, their skinny thighs shivering against the feel of the cold sickle blade. They knock back two each, and then they go climb their trees. The ubiquitous Cocos nucifera, with its rustling palm fronds, supplying 40 million coconuts per year all over Goa, one per family per day. They are all Hindus, they are my brothers. Every morning I wonder which of them might never come back. 40 feet above the ground is no place to have a bad day at the office.
That was great. So let's just start off very easy and simple. Obviously, everyone loves the title of the book. Tell us a little bit about how that happened.
So back in the early days when Homie and I were batting ideas back and forth for what eventually became Finding Fanny, the idea of the story was almost entirely his. And he mentioned one thing. He mentioned Goa is just full of villages where pointless conversations just proliferate. And that was one phrase that just stuck with me right throughout. And I think it kind of conveys the mood of the entire book. It kind of hangs like a cloud over the entire book, right through every twist and turn and every nuance, every word uttered by these nut job characters. And that's it. It was just the most apt title I could think of. I could not think of anything else. And thanks for that, Holmes.
Homie, grab the mic. Just tell me about between the two of you. Obviously, this novel is set in Goa. It really brings Goa to life. It's beautiful to read, and it was beautiful to watch. How did Goa become the setting?
Hello. Hello. Okay, I might as well just, sorry. I sent the book to Nasir about a month ago, and he started reading it. He sent me a message saying, I haven't had so much fun reading a book for I don't know how many years, and why the fuck didn't you make this into the film? I have no answer. Question was?
Goa. Why Goa?
There's a red light on your mic.
Yeah.
Put it on.
Okay. Well, why Goa? Because I don't know. I was sitting in Goa when I wrote the story, and I found the people in Goa extremely interesting. It was about pointless conversation. Everyone I met would really discuss how hot it was when you were sweating. They would say how humid it is when it's raining, how full they were after they eaten. And I said, fuck, sorry. I said, wow, this is incredible how just everyone just keeps talking about the most obvious things. And the story was always set in my head about a postman finding a letter that he had written, and the irony of that never got posted. So it was always there. I tried to actually, in between, make it into a Hindi film and try to set it up north, but somehow the way we had written it and the way we had collaborated writing it, everything got lost when I translated it. So just stuck to my guns and we put it in Goa.
So Nasir obviously was a dream casting. Tell me what made you think of him? How did you approach him? How did that come to be?
Well, as my friend Sami was just telling us, since I made Being Cyrus, I've always had a vision in my head of anchoring Nasir and just plummeting him into the sea and letting him drown. That was my first visual of this movie. But no, Nasir, was the obvious choice. And I remember I narrated this to Nasir a long time ago. And he couldn't do it at that time for various reasons. And I decided if I can't get him, I'm not going to make the movie. So I didn't make the movie, and I ended up making another film in between, which Nasir loves. And and then when I got back to it, he was the obvious choice.
Kirsty, let's go back to the book really quickly before we jump into anything else. Was the book a chance to almost write what you didn't like about the movie? Was there anything that you...
My God, controversial questions. No, the book is exactly the way I imagined this story to unfold. It was just a different way of telling it, that's all. He imagined it differently from a cinematic point of view, and I just felt that whatever worked for cinema, there could be so much more done in a book form. So that was it. There was no other motive behind it. It was just my retelling of that same story that we had collaborated on. That's it.
So of course, the big difference in the book and the film is your character. And
Don't spoil it.
I'm not going to. But I'm curious to know what you think, Nasir. You've read the book, you've been in the film, of course. What do you think? How did you actually approach this character?
I'd just like to read a little passage that Kirsty has quoted from Oscar Wilde before the book begins. I'm sick to death of cleverness. Everybody is clever nowadays. You can't go anywhere without meeting clever people. The thing has become an absolute public nuisance. I wish to goodness we had a few fools left. Yeah, I empathize completely with this statement. It's apart from the compliments I received for my performance, I also got some brickbats. Foremost among them was one person who told me that I played him like a retard. I think a guy who walks into a funeral and mistakes a young girl who he knew 40 years ago to be the same person he was in love with cannot be anything but a retard, you know. So I just loved the complete innocence stroke foolishness of this character. I empathize with it a great deal. I often felt very foolish when I was a child. It has sort of stayed with me.
So So when I read the book, I sort of had this feeling like the film was almost a love story, whereas the book felt more like a coming-of-age story. It's almost like Ferdy sort of came into himself and became more of a hero in one version